Hello again there folks, Lone Adventurer here. Thank you very much for stumbling your way upon my channel and joining me for this adventure. Today we're going to be playing through a little one sheet, more or less one sheet, trifold print and play game called Going Knowhere. And this is a game from Gregg Jewell. You can find it on itch.io. I think it might be pay what you want, or at least it was when I downloaded my copy. I would encourage you, of course, as I always do with these games, to pay $1 or $2 to the designer in order to support them as they make more cool games for us. Before we get to this game and talk about what it is, can I ask you to consider subscribing to my channel and hitting the bell notification icon so you find out about more adventures just like this one when I release new videos. Now, Going Knowhere. It is essentially a card game played with a traditional deck of cards, which is something that I sometimes find less interesting, even if there is a theme on top of the card game, as there is here, quite a good theme in fact. I still sort of lose interest sometimes when I find out that essentially what you're doing is playing a traditional card game. But this one has been very carefully thought through. I was drawn in by a couple of things. Firstly, the excellent production design on this little trifold rule sheet. As you can see here, we've got some cool art. Look at this guy. And just generally nice layout. And if we look on here, everything is very clear and well explained. The rules of this game are exceptionally easy to understand and clear. The concept of the game didn't quite click in my brain until I'd played a couple of rounds, but now that it's in there, I fully understand. So that's the first thing that drew me to it, just the general production value of it. But also this second sheet here. So this is a second double-sided sheet. I've printed out on 2 pieces of paper, mainly for ease of recording this video. But this is the real sort of USP, unique selling point, of this game. It is a roguelike game, so you will play it, you will attempt to complete it, but you will fail. And every time you fail, or most times that you fail, you will have a chance to improve your character in a range of different ways. And as you improve your character's ability, then you will be more likely to succeed in the next run. So you can see here, we'll look a bit closer at this as we go, but we've got some feats, and some of the feats here you can see I've started to cross them off as I have succeeded. Full disclosure, I think I was making some mistakes quite early on. So I think probably I shouldn't have quite as much in my Jack's Favour and Queen's Accord feats, but I've left them in there anyway because it's going to help us have an interesting playthrough, to have a few bits and pieces going on. I've also been working towards a passive ability, and I've got this active ability here, Sleight. So that's kind of cool. That was the other thing that drew me to this game, the fact that you are constantly improving your character, giving them greater improved abilities. It's just it's interesting and it's fun, and you can see once again just the design of this sheet is super easy to understand and just very nice. And I'm a sucker for things that look nice, as you would imagine. So we're going to do a little overview of the game. I'm going to try my best to explain it, but I think it will be through play that it will become clear how it works. Once you get into the actual play, it is actually quite a very simple gameplay loop. You'll see how it works. But let's read this little introductory text. I should say, if you do want to jump directly to the play, there will be timestamps in the description down below, and you can do that if you prefer just to watch the playthrough bit. But here we go, having a little look at the rules. You stand at the threshold of nowhere, a place where forgotten and forbidden knowledge is kept sealed. You are a nobody, a foreigner to this realm, seeking a truth that could save your world from a rising threat no one remembers, but everyone fears. The path to its entrance is guarded by 12 wise beings known as the Knowbles. Only by passing each of their trials and collecting all 12 Knowstones in a single run will you prove yourself worthy to enter Knowhere. Few succeed at first. Each run brings experience. Each failure offers insight. Some are even willing to trade that insight for lasting power. Return, try again, and get stronger. In time, you may overcome the trials and restore what is forgotten. So that is essentially the game. We are going to take the face cards, along with the jokers, which we'll talk about in a bit, and each of those face cards represents one of the Knowbles, who we have to overcome in a trial. Once you overcome a Knowble in a trial, you then use that Knowble to represent the prize that you have acquired, which is a Knowstone. You can use your acquired Knowstones, which will be stacking over here, in order to improve your character when you inevitably fail in that run. But as you improve your character, you'll be able to tackle more and more Knowbles until one day, hopefully, you'll be able to defeat all 13, and when you do that, you have won the game. So that's our Knowbles, along with the jokers, which represent hazards. They are kind of annoying. And we will have a look at our rules here. We have a setup section that explains how to set up the table in front of you for an attempt at the run. Then we've got a gameplay overview, just the procedure that you follow in order to attempt to take on the Knowbles. Then you have the wits end section on the back, which just details what you have to do if you have failed in a run or if you have succeeded in a run. It's all there. And then we've got some details on character progression, and then a little quick guide here, which is very handy and I always forget is there. But let's do the setup. I'm going to move the sheet over to the side, so we've got an area here for the game, and we'll run through setup. So first of all, we have to build the threshold. There's a sort of a cool name for each stack of cards and area of cards that you have in play. So this is our threshold. It is all the face cards, all of the jokers, or both of the jokers rather. Each Knowble has a difficulty level based on its rank. The jacks are worth a difficulty of 1, the queens a difficulty of 2, and the kings a difficulty of 3. And they also have a value based on their rank. So jacks are 11 because they come after the 10 in a standard deck of cards, and the queens are worth 12 and the kings are worth 13. So these are sort of fairly standard sort of valuations that you could that make sense if you are familiar with normal decks of cards. So with that in place, actually let's pop that about there. With that in place, we use all the other cards, the standard value cards, to set up the rest of the game. So the other cards are known as the source. The first, that's S-O-U-R-C-E, not sauce as in what you might put on a burger. So we're going to take 13 of those cards and pop that there. That is known as the veil. So when you face a Knowble, you'll use a card from the veil to present an additional obstacle, and you combine the values in different ways that we will talk about. So with that done, we're going to set up a section of resources. These are the things, these represent the things that are available to you as you attempt to take on the Knowbles. And those are quite low, or we don't have any too high, so that might be a bad thing. We're going to put the source over there, and then we are ready. So ordinarily you can set that up, I would say, once your face cards are separated, you can set that up in less than a minute, maybe like 45 seconds, in order to get yourself set up to have another run at the Knowbles. And that's it. The game is set up. It is ready for us to play. This is how it goes. This is the procedure for a trial. We will go through this procedure, and if we succeed at the trial, we will gain a Knowstone, which we'll be able to use to improve our character, and then we get to do another trial. and you keep on going until you fail a trial. So sometimes that I've played, I have failed the first trial, gained no Knowstones, and had to reset up the game. Most times I have gained at least one Knowstone, but no more than a couple. Here we go. Oh, so we've immediately got a joker. That is awful news. So that represents a hazard that we have encountered. And if you encounter a hazard, it means you have to flip your highest value resource. So that is awful news. And I've just noticed the resources are popped off the bottom of the screen. It doesn't really matter because you can see what they are at least. So maybe we will leave it like that. Okay, so that was a hazard. That was unfortunate. Oh, and the next one is a king. So obviously kings are the highest suit and therefore the most difficult nobles to face. So this first round is possibly going to go badly. And we've got one obstacle as well. If the obstacle was the same suit as the noble, that would have made it even more difficult. As it stands, our difficulty is 3, because remember, difficulties are 1 for a jack, 2 for a queen, 3 for a king, 3 plus 1 for one obstacle. So we've got a difficulty of 4. And what that means is we have to use at least 4 of our resources in order to face that noble. Now luckily the obstacle is quite low value because kings are high value. So the total goal, the total target in order to defeat this noble is the value of the king plus the value of the obstacle. So that is 16, 13 plus 3. So just to recap, we have a difficulty of 4, we will have to use 4 cards, and a goal of 16, which means we need to use our resources to make a total of 16. And if we can't do that, we lose. And I don't think we can. I think we're going to lose this one. Because if we think about it, if we use our 2 6s, that's 12. Then we can add on these 2, 13, 14, 15. That's 1 lower than our goal. If we use these ones, we're just going to be 2 lower than our goal. So a bit of a disaster in our first go at it. We have failed on our first trial and we've been unable to defeat even one noble. So that is pretty bad news. And unfortunately, we're just going to have to reset. Obviously, I'll pause the video and reset with you off camera. But we have to collect all of that up again. In fact, I don't think I will reset off camera. We will do it on camera. Remember, we've got one hazard there. But I'm going to do it on camera just to show how quick this is to set up. There is our source. We'll give these a quick shuffle. 13. Pop those there. That is our veil. Then we reveal those. And we're ready to play again. So the fact that we lost immediately isn't the end of the world. Now I think that on our campaign sheet here, we can do this thing called Crisis Collector, which is collecting 5 hazards. We didn't actually look too closely at this, and maybe we should before we start the next round. So we're going to mark that hazard that we collected. Now some feats have a bonus, a game effect, and some feats are just sort of, you know how in video games you track various things about your character, or they killed 300 enemies, they used the garrote wire 24 times and all that sort of stuff. It's just, some of these are just a way to track how you have been doing in the campaign. They don't have a mechanical benefit, but some do. But over here, these abilities, they do have a mechanical benefit. And I have completed, although I suspect I did it a bit quicker than I should, I was not considering one particular rule that I forgot to mention in the first round, but I do have Sleight. Once per run after drawing an obstacle, so drawing a card from this deck here, you may place it at the bottom of the veil, move it to the bottom, and draw a new one. So if we get a really high value card that we don't like the look of, we can redraw an obstacle. That's kind of cool. And we're working towards this passive ability here, Load Bearer. Your inventory has 1 additional slot. So then we would have 7 resources to pick from rather than 6. So let's move that aside and we can have another go. Hopefully we don't have another king. We've got a jack. That's good news. Jacks are lower value and therefore easier to defeat, and that's nice and low as well. So we've got a difficulty of 2, 1 for the joker, 1 for the obstacle, so we have to use 2 cards, and a total value of 11 plus 2, which is 13. So we've got to try and use these cards to make a total of 13, and we can do that quite easily. We can use the 9 and we can use the 4. 9 plus 4 is 13. That is the same as our goal, and that means we have succeeded. Now, if we had to have used our 8 or our 2, that would have counted towards the difficulty, so it would have counted towards the 2 cards that we needed to use, but it wouldn't have counted towards our goal, because a heart-based Knowble is immune to the use of heart resources, and it is only through the increasing use of abilities and masteries that you can overcome that immunity. So that's kind of annoying, but good for us today, because it means we were able to defeat the Knowble. We gain their Knowstone as a result. We're going to pop that over there. We can use that Knowstone to improve our character at the end of this run. These resources go into a discard pile over here. We refill. This used obstacle goes to the bottom of this deck here, to the bottom of the source, and we're ready to face another Knowble. And that is essentially how the game works. It's a really clever little mechanic, and yeah, combined with that campaign sheet, I am very much in on it. Ooh, so we've got a king, so that is going to be more difficult to defeat. Now this is actually the worst possible situation, because not only does each obstacle that shares a suit with the Knowble add a bonus difficulty, so that is 2 obstacles instead of 1 because they share a suit, the King of Clubs is actually the biggest of the Knowbles, and you actually get an additional obstacle because it's the King of Clubs. It's like the final boss that we've encountered. I don't think that stacks because that's another club. That's fine. So 3, 4, 5, 6 difficulty. So it's only if we can hit the difficulty using all of our cards that we will succeed. But obviously that's very unlikely. That's not going to be possible until we have significantly improved our character. So yeah, I mean, let's add this up anyway. 13 plus the obstacles. So that is a total difficulty of 30. Ridiculous. If this adds up to 30, then oh my goodness, how lucky are we? I think that's 31. I'm going to check again. They add up to 31. So if we had a 3 here instead, oh, it doesn't really matter because the 3, the Knowble is immune to that one anyway. So it wasn't 31, it was 28. Still pretty close, but that Knowble was able to defeat us. So we need to reset, but this time round we did manage to gain a Knowstone. So that is pretty cool. So we're going to look at our campaign sheet and we're going to use our Knowstone to boost up our load bearer ability. So slow and steady wins the race. If we manage to do that with 3 more Knowstones, our inventory will be increased by 1. We can also, on the feats, mark Jack's favour. I'm not sure if that helps out anywhere. It's just, like I said, oh no, it does. Oh, and I had forgotten about this. Right. Another mistake I've made. So I'd also put a couple of Knowstones previously towards this Jack-wise passive ability. However, it requires the Jack's favour feat in order to be usable. So I'm going to have to rub out that ability there, which I had forgotten about anyway during this video. Once we have completed that Jack's favour, once we have gained a Knowstone 5 more times from a Jack, that means we can activate this Jack's favour passive ability, because I've already put 2 Knowstones towards it. Once we've done that, Jack Knowble trials have -1 difficulty, so that too will be handy. I'm going to set it up again and then we will have another run Alright, so we're all set up for another run. Let's see what the next noble is that we're going to face. Good news, it's a jack, the noble with the least value, so the one that is most easy to defeat. Ooh, but we've got a very large obstacle. So at the moment we have a target of 21. The jack is worth 11 plus the 10. Could we do it? Now theoretically we could use our slight active ability to replace the obstacle with a new one. But maybe I would choose to not do that if I could defeat the noble. Remember, we've got a difficulty of 2 here, 1 for the jack and 1 for the obstacle. So we have to use 2 cards, but obviously we'd have to use 2 cards anyway. A minimum of 2 cards, sorry. Now I've got quite a lot of high value resources here, and I can easily do that. I can go 10, 10, no I can't. I need to remember that the noble is immune to its own suit, so I can't go 10, 10, 1. That won't work because that one doesn't count. So actually I'm not sure that I can do it. The ace is always worth 1. I should have said that. In the resources, the ace is always worth 1. If an ace pops up as an obstacle, it is valued at 11. So yeah, I don't think we can do it. So I will use our slight ability to place that obstacle back on the bottom. So if you were in a run all the way through, you'd probably have to face that obstacle anyway. And there we go, we've got a much more manageable obstacle there. So we now have a total value of 16, which we can totally do using that and that. And the noble is defeated. We use that there to represent the Knowstone that we have gained. Those go on the discard pile just off camera. The obstacle goes to the bottom of the source, and we re-stack our resources. And hopefully we're going to get 2 this time. Let's see how it goes. We've got another jack. Great news. And we've got an 8. So that is a difficulty of 2 again, a nice low difficulty. We could do it with 2 cards. And it is a goal of 11 plus 9, which is 19. And my maths is not great, but I can see quite quickly that we can use that one and that one. Neither of those resources. Oh, backpedal. I've just realised the obstacle matches the suit of the noble, which means we've got extra obstacle. Oh, so we've got a difficulty of 3. That means we have to use 3 cards. But I think we can probably still do it. The goal is still 19, so we can go 10, 8, 1. None of those match the suit of the noble. That gives us a total of 19, so that is another success, and we gain another Knowstone, another noble defeated. Those go into the discard pile. Those go to the bottom of the source, and we refill our resources. So you can see that once you get into the rhythm of it, it's a fairly quick little game. Oh, but that's our big bad, isn't it? That's the boss. The King of Clubs is the boss. You get an additional obstacle, so the chances of us defeating this are remote. But let's see. We've got to use 5 cards, 3 for a king, plus 2, 5, so difficulty of 5, and the goal is 13 plus 9, which I think is 22. Can we make 22? I mean, we can't, because these 2, the noble is immune to these resources. So the most we can do is 8 plus 5 plus 5 plus 2, which is 20. So we were only 2 off, actually. We were only 2 off defeating the noble. But the chances of you getting that exact, because remember it has to be exactly the value of the goal, the chances of you getting that are pretty remote. So kings in general are quite hard to defeat before you've developed your abilities. And the King of Clubs, well, he is a different kettle of fish altogether. Defeating him without a decent amount of abilities and without having developed some of your masteries is going to be quite tricky indeed. So that's it. We got 2 nobles on that run, so a little bit better. He defeated us, unfortunately, so we can pop him back there. Everything else can be reset for the next run, but I'm going to leave that for now Before we finish the video, we'll just decide how we're going to spend our 2 Knowstones there. First of all, we need to mark 2 jacks in our jack's favour. So I've only got to defeat 3 more jack Knowbles in order to activate my jackwise ability, and then jacks will be at a -1 difficulty. That will be handy, I am sure. Means you theoretically have to use less cards in order to defeat a jack. But we've got 2 Knowstones to spend, and I think I'm going to be boring and just put them both on the load bearer, which will eventually give me 1 extra infantry slot. So there you go, folks. That is Going Knowhere, a clever little system that just uses a deck of cards. Really imaginative mechanics. I know I've said it already, but the campaign sheet I think is incredibly appealing and such a good idea. So there you go. It's on itch.io. It's quite inexpensive. It's a lot of game for a couple of sheets of paper. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Otherwise, thank you very much if you made it this far, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.